KHQ Local News Today.
You know, I called him at 7 and I said, what's going on? And he said, oh, it's fine, no big deal, we've done this before. And a couple hours later he called and he said, get here now.
That was Lauren Miller talking to us live in our 5 a.m. hour by phone. She lives just outside of Okanagan. Her home is fine right now, but she was describing her conversation with her dad. Her dad had talked to her a short time before the evacuation saying, we're okay. And then her childhood home, the home she grew up in, changed. In a matter of seconds, he called back, he said, get here right now, and they had to evacuate, and obviously that home was in the fire's path. At least 35 homes destroyed so far. We're live in Brewster. We have new video for you out of Pateros, and we are checking on the outlying communities. We're expecting a news briefing from authorities anytime right now. We can also tell you we're hearing that they set up shelter at the high school here in Brewster. We have a crew there right now talking to the people directly, hearing their stories and what they've seen over the last 12 hours. All that straight ahead in our 6 a.m. hour, but first, want to keep a close eye on the weather conditions. Firefighters are going to be attacking this in force. In fact, we've seen crews from Electric City go by and other outlying areas. Saw a school bus driver drive by with a bandana over his face. That paints a picture of what it's like here in Brewster as you're waking up this morning. But the winds, will they stay down? Will they stay calm? Let's go into Blake.
Yeah, Sean, the winds got crazy there yesterday afternoon. That's obviously what we're hearing is one of the big reasons why these fires spread so quickly. Now a little bit calmer, but another wave is going to move through today, and we're expecting those winds to again kick up this afternoon and evening. Right now, 10-mile-per-hour winds in Omak there through the Okanagan Valley have seen a couple of gusts in those areas near about 15 miles per hour. So not too bad at the moment, but still a breeze. 12 miles per hour northwest winds coming into the Wenatchee Valley as well, and it's these areas, the east slopes of the Cascades, are Cascade valleys like the Wenatchee Valley, the Medow Valley, and the Okanagan Valley, where we could see these winds kicking up to about 30-35 miles per hour by this afternoon with the latest front that's expected to move through. Take a look. This is midday. So right now we're seeing those winds anywhere from 10 to 15 miles per hour, but look for sustained winds up to 25 miles per hour just by noon. And then as we head into the evening especially, that's when we expect it to be the most noticeable. You see around Winthrop, 15 to 20 miles per hour, 20 miles per hour near Omak, the southern portions of the Okanagan Valley there, 24 miles per hour in Chelan, Eniat, where that Mills Canyon complex fire burning 30-mile-per-hour winds by later this afternoon. And it doesn't look like we're getting much of a break, maybe a little bit overnight tonight and then into tomorrow. But tomorrow afternoon, yet another successive wave moves through, and we'll see those winds kicking back up tomorrow afternoon to between 20 and 25 miles per hour. Obviously, with the wind being as big of a concern as it is, we have a red flag warning still in place all the way at least until 11 o'clock tonight. We'll see if that gets extended with that wind that's also expected tomorrow. Shelley.
All right, Blake, thank you very much. Again, our coverage continues. This wildfire burning out of control in central Washington between Pateros and Brewster this morning, forcing hundreds of people to leave their homes immediately. This is called the Carlton complex fire, burning in the Medow Valley. Now, initially it started as 4 separate fires that ended up merging. Both Brewster and Pateros evacuated. Highway 97 is closed between the two towns as well. As our team coverage continues for you this morning on this fire, witnesses are describing it as unbelievable in size. And to give you an idea, when we're talking about size, Brewster and Pateros, if you go 33 miles to the west northwest, that's where you find the area of Twisp. Gabe Cohen is there live. We'll be joining him in just a few moments. There have already been structures burned in the Twisp area as well. First, though, we want to go to Sean, who is live in the Brewster Pateros area. Sean?
Shelley, good morning once again, and an update for you. Highway 97 between Brewster and Pateros is now in fact open. This is the stretch of road you're looking at it. If you travel here about 6 to 8 miles up the road, you'll be in Pateros. That town simply devastated by this wildfire. A number of homes and buildings and structures there gone. We've heard a church is gone. We're live in Brewster right now, just on the shoulder of Highway 97 as we stand here in the shadow of this major wildfire. 18,000 acres in size. That's the best number they can put on it, but it shifted and became so aggressive overnight. Honestly, the sheriff tells us They simply don't know how big it is right now. They do expect it is much, much bigger than 18,000 acres. We can tell you, we do believe a shelter was set up at the Brewster High School here. We can also tell you level 3 evacuations remain in effect as we speak for the town of Pateros. Only evacuations for outlying areas in Brewster. Brewster's Three Rivers Hospital was evacuated as a precaution, and a witness told us a number of homes and barns they saw firsthand burned to the ground. So there are homes gone. The good news, we have not had any reports of any injuries so far, either to firefighters or people in harm's way. That is certainly one bright spot in what is a very dim start to the day here in this community. Smoke just basically taking over this entire area, permeating the air, people covering their faces with bandanas and masks as they walk through here. Those are the latest stats that we have, but really this is a personal story. People have lived here for many, many years. This is home. One of the people that we talked to just outside of Okanagan is where she lives. Lauren Miller talked to us by phone this morning, and she says you cannot describe the emotions that she and her family and really this community are going through.
We came in right behind the police, and you know, the resources are stretched incredibly thin, and so we ended up with, you know, only 2 fire trucks here, and we were told to leave, and we didn't, which was probably not the smartest decision, but our house stands. There's over 100 families that live up here, and we could only find 5 standing houses at this time. You know, we didn't go up every driveway, but most of these people haven't been up here yet. They don't know that they've lost everything.
Well, the terrain is so rugged here, as if we go off to the hillside, you can actually see the fire flaring up. This is just the outskirt of the fire. It is much, much larger in size. Maybe an estimate, best estimate, just under half the size of the city of Spokane. So that's up over that hillside that's enveloped in smoke. You can see steep, rugged terrain. The most challenging conditions that firefighters can face, and they are bringing out reinforcements today. We've seen them coming from outlying areas. That's what the day is set for them, and they're going to attack this aggressively, try to get some type of containment on it, because there are a number of structures in harm's way right now of this swift changing direction moving fire. We can tell you, we do have an update. We understand now that at least 45 to 50 homes are simply gone. That's in a matter of hours. That gives you an idea how aggressive, how swift moving this fire is, and that's why firefighters are coming out in force. We have team coverage. We want to go to a different location, to Twisp, Washington this morning. Our Gabe Cohen is reporting live from there. Gabe, what does it look like where you are?
Well, Sean, it's very smoky here in Twisp. As you can see behind me, it's actually quite a contrast in front of me. Beautiful blue skies, but behind me, as you can see, it's just gray, and that smoke has only picked up throughout this morning. I've been here now a couple hours, and the flames behind me have picked up, and that smoke is moving southward right towards you guys. We're about 35 miles northwest, of where you guys are now, of Pateros, and right now crews are in this entire area fighting this fire from every direction. It is a chilly morning. They're hoping that that weather will work in their favor, but right now it's just trying to get this under control and save whatever structures they can. As you mentioned, the devastation in Pateros, but they're also getting reports that at least 2 houses here in Twisp have been destroyed. As you can see from this video, just a lot of smoke throughout this morning as this fire continues to rage through this area, and even north of here, just the sheer distance of it is quite unbelievable. And it appears now this road 153 has been closed between Twisp and where you guys are for about 6-7 hours now, but it appears that they may be opening it up within a matter of minutes. We're going to bring you that information as soon as it becomes available, but for now, back to you guys, Sean, down there.
All right, thanks very much. Gabe Cohen reporting live for us this morning. Our team coverage of this major breaking news story. The massive wildfires destroyed at least 45 to 50 homes so far. 18,000 acres in size was the last estimate they received, and they said, frankly, that just can't be accurate. They, from what they've seen firsthand on the fire line, say this fire is much, much bigger than that. We can tell you the wind is pushing the smoke towards the Spokane area. If you wake up and you see some smoke in the air, just imagine driving west towards Brewster, and it just intensifies as you get there. Ash falling from the sky on your windshield as you drive in from the Grand Coulee Dam area into Brewster. In fact, a little bit of ash here on my black vest is visible to my photographer Jeff behind the camera here. So it gives you a picture of what they're starting the day like. Let's hope that firefighters get ahead of this fire, but right now that seems like a monumental task, Kalai.
All right, Sean, and speaking of firefighters, we wanted to show you this from the Okanagan Fire Chief this morning, a tweet saying, "Mother Nature is going to win. This is the worst fire behavior I've ever witnessed." Now, to give you a grasp of just how quickly this fire has grown, you heard us mention that this Carlton complex started as 4 fires earlier this week, one of them being the Cougar Flat Fire. The Cougar Flat Fire went from 65 acres Wednesday to 25,000 acres by Thursday. And you heard us mention all 4 of those fires have now merged together, and it is now making up the Carlton complex. This is the front page of the Wenatchee World this morning. Here's the headline: fire refugees pouring into Chelan shelter are telling horror stories. In this article, there are several stories of people who have witnessed the destruction of this fire firsthand. In fact, the Pateros School District Superintendent Lois Davies says she was setting up shelter at Pateros High School when she saw the fire, the wide sweeping fire, take over the area, and she was forced to evacuate and is now finding shelter at Chelan High School this morning. Here's a picture of some of the cots as they were setting up for people coming in looking for shelter as this fire continues to grow, continues to take over this wide, vast area. Again, we're continuing to follow this on our Facebook page, and we're, of course, following all of the information coming into our Twitter feed as well. And Sean, I mean, you've already heard firsthand some of the devastating stories from people who have just been affected by this fire, people who have lost their homes, and more of those stories continue to come into our newsroom.
They certainly do. All right, thanks very much, Kalai, showing you a different perspective and some of the news agencies reporting on the fire that we're right in the middle of. These communities hard hit. Really, the last 12 hours, it took a serious turn for the worse. The wildfire accelerating and basically taking over people's homes that are no longer. As we take you live up onto the hillside where that fire is burning and then up over that rugged terrain, that's where the major expanse of that fire is. You can see, we've shown you on the hillside here, the smoke that you're seeing, their fires and flare-ups are right on that rugged terrain, and then you can see the perspective of how close homes are sitting to the fire that continues to burn this morning, that has grown tremendously in size over the last several hours. You're following breaking news here on KHQ Local News Today. Much more straight ahead. We're back in a minute. And good morning. Welcome back live in Brewster, Washington. 2 towns here in the immediate vicinity, Brewster and Pateros, reeling after a aggressive wildfire shifted a number of directions overnight, consuming homes. At last report, 45 to 50 homes. And it is, let's just say, roughly 18,000 acres in size, although the officials that we're talking to say it is much, much bigger than that. They just don't have a grasp on how big it is right now. It is very eerie in the town of Pateros. And I do understand that one of our employees, producer Josh Flug, is there live in Pateros right now. Josh, describe what you're seeing as we show our viewers a live picture of what is happening there.
Sean, I can tell you it is truly devastating out here. We are just outside of the city limits of Pateros, literally a stone's throw from Highway 97. You can see this home right off the highway, completely burned to the ground, still smoldering. In fact, parts of it still on fire. I think we have a shot right now, shows this lawnmower. It's barely even recognizable. And if we turn around a little bit, look at this. This car here is completely gone as well. And if you move past the car a little bit, you can see the hillside there, completely black. That's Highway 97 directly next to it. It gives you a good idea of why they closed this highway, because these flames were coming so close to the road. As we were driving down, we saw some transformer boxes that were leaning towards the road. Even on the other side, you see railroad tracks that are literally on fire. And one more other thing I want to point out to you, if we zoom up the hill, you see this other home up here. It is doing just fine, and it's a good demonstration of how effective defensible space and preparing your home for wildfires can be. Now, unfortunately, if we go back to this other house that is no more, that did not help here. This home is completely gone. Again, these people were evacuated, some of them to the south, some of them to the north. We're going to continue to move into Pateros to see what else we can find, and when we get that information, we'll bring it back to you. Sean, back to you.
All right, Josh, really just you can't imagine what they're dealing with and waking up to in Pateros this morning. We're in Brewster. In fact, Matt Rogers has just arrived here, and what we're going to do is I'm going to leave this location and I'm going to join Josh and photographer Tim in Pateros and show you in our next half hour really what they're dealing with and waking up to in Pateros. Matt will stay here in Brewster, and Matt, your vantage point as you drove in, I saw ash falling on the windshield. Yeah. I've never seen anything like this.
You know, I can relate this to back in the early to mid 90s, Sean. Growing up in Kashmir in the Wenatchee Valley, there was a large series of fires. I remember one of them, the biggest, called the Tyee Creek Fire.
I remember that.
And it literally sat smoke into the valley, very similar to this, very similar, for, I would say, the better part of a month. And driving in here, this is kind of what it reminded me of, you know, what's that been, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, just the smoke, the intensity of the smoke really picked up between Grand Coulee, right, you know, probably a few miles outside of Grand Coulee on Highway 2 coming out here. And then, boy, once you got into it, there was no getting out. And obviously, the further you go towards Pateros, the worse it's going to get. So that's what it, you know, my recollection brings back some of those memories growing up in the Wenatchee Valley. They get a lot of fires in this area, obviously, each and every year, but some of, you know, not usually to this extent. So a lot of concern here, and you know, I'm just getting my first glimpses of it right now this morning, and that's what it instantly brought back some memories for me.
All right, we also have Gabe Cohen in Twisp. Matt will stay here in Brewster. I'm going to head to Pateros this morning. Complete team coverage of breaking news as we go forward. Obviously, weather a major concern. Let's go back to the KHQ studios for that.
Yeah, the wind obviously the big concern, and one of the reasons why, as they were talking about, the smoke is so thick in Brewster this morning is because that wind is blowing all this smoke from west to east. Now, the wind kicked up pretty strong yesterday afternoon there, blew all the smoke there into southern portions of the Okanagan Valley, and then now the winds have calmed down, so it's just settled in. It's just sitting there in the valley is exactly what they're talking about and describing, ash falling from the skies and that dense smoke that you could even see visibly just through the camera. So winds are expected again to pick up this afternoon in those areas. We're going to go through all of that right now, but first want to get through the Spokane day planner for you today. We're looking for that smoky haze all the way here in the eastern portions of Washington, North Idaho, northwestern Montana be dealing with this smoke. 80 degrees by noon, 87 degrees the high temperature by the end of the day, but you also see those winds even in Spokane expected to kick up to between 10 and 20 miles per hour by later on. It's going to be even stronger closer to the Cascades. But speaking to that smoke, here's a look at the air quality index numbers out there right now. Wenatchee, unhealthy category. Colville into the unhealthy category. Omak, moderate. Moses Lake, moderate. This wind is basically being blown right through those areas between Omak and Moses Lake, and you see where the fires are located, blowing from the southwest up to the northeast. So all our areas in northeast Washington, northern panhandle of Idaho, some thicker smoke there. Also, of course, right in the path of those fires is where we're seeing the thickest smoke. The air quality alert, all these areas covered in gray are under this air quality alert until at least 5:45 tonight. Then we'll see at that point if it gets extended even further. Bad news again for firefighters. Red flag warning still in place for the east slopes of the Cascades, where today we could see those winds by this afternoon and evening getting up to 25 to 35 miles per hour. Some spots closer to Ellensburg, which is, you know, typically known for its wind, could see those gusts up to 45 miles per hour later in the day. So that red flag warning still in effect. That is bad news. And speaking to those 45-mile-an-hour winds in Ellensburg, that's where we have a wind advisory in place. So lots of fire-related watches, warnings in place this morning because of the winds. That's the primary factor. Of course, we've been hot and dry here over the last week and a half or so. Now we've got the winds moving through each day. So those picking back up again this afternoon, and it's all because of these successive storm systems that aren't really causing much of an impact other than the winds. They're bringing the cooler temperatures, they're bringing a chance for showers, which would be good news as we head into tomorrow, but they're also bringing the winds to the area. And I do want to highlight some of those storm systems that I'm talking about. Of course, yesterday's cold front that moved through, that has now moved a little bit further to the east. That's what whipped the winds up yesterday afternoon. If I zoom out, you see what's just lined up in the Pacific. We've got storm system after storm system after storm system. This is the one moving through today that this afternoon will bring those winds back up. Saturday, another one moving through that could actually push farther south, bringing a chance for some mountain showers. Obviously, that would be very, very welcome. Now, the good news with all of these is they're bringing more moisture into the area. Humidity levels should start to rise, which should help firefighters. We're going to see the cooler temperatures as an effect of all of these moving through British Columbia, but it's the short term, it's those winds that also come through with those low pressure storm systems. So again, another windy day today, still even breezy into Saturday. Temperatures though continuing to cool, upper 70s by Monday, low 80s into next week.
We want to take a moment to check out our local birthdays on this Friday. What a beautiful smile. A happy 7th birthday going out to Kane. We love you so much. Grandma, Grandpa, Mommy, Daddy, Dominic, Aslan, and baby Finley. Also, a happy 27th birthday going out to Sarah, this lovely young lady. Amazing mom. You're everything that a mother would want, a daughter, and more. Happy birthday, birthday girl, it says, with love from your mama. All right, our day planner today talking about, again, the hazy smoke out there causing some problems with our air quality. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break. We'll see highs this afternoon in the upper 80s. We'll take a quick break, and our fire coverage continues in just a moment.
Right now at 6:30.
At 6:30, we are following breaking news. A wildfire burning out of control, in excess of 18,000 acres now charred. The Carlton complex fire continuing to burn from the west, northwest, and Twisp all the way down into the Pateros and Brewster area. We understand from the Okanagan County Sheriff, Frank Rogers. He says in his 30 years of law enforcement, he has never seen anything this bad. Post offices, churches, hardware stores put in danger and burned to the ground. We understand somewhere now between 40 and 50 structures have been destroyed. We do have team coverage for you this morning. In moments, we'll be checking in with our Sean Owsley, who is anchoring from the field this morning. We also have Gabe Cohen, who is in the Twisp area. Good morning once again. I'm Shelley Monahan, and we would like to right now go over to the Weather Center and check in with Blake, because unfortunately, Mother Nature is not helping the firefighters out once again today. Blake?
I mean, just terrible conditions. There couldn't be a more terrible setup for what's going on out there. We had that red flag warning in effect yesterday. I mean, we've been looking forward to a cool down for the last week and a half. Now that cool down is coming at a cost, because each different low pressure system that's going to be moving through, bringing cooler air, is also bringing a cold front that whips up the winds. So again, this afternoon, even though relatively calm out there right now, this afternoon those winds expected to pick back up. Right now 10 miles per hour in Omak, 12 miles per hour in Wenatchee. It will be much stronger than that later this afternoon. As you take a look at the futurecast, there's yesterday's low pressure system. That's moving well to the east. We just have a successive lineup of storm systems moving in off the Pacific into British Columbia, and the one today, it's right here. Watch as we go into the early afternoon, very slowly here. There is the front associated with this low pressure system. It's wrapping back around, moving across the Cascades early this afternoon. That's when we expect to start seeing the winds noticeably picking up as we head later into the evening as well, where we could see those between 35 and 40 mile per hour gusts. By tomorrow, another low pressure system moves in. That could bring some much needed mountain rain showers, although it really only looks like it's going to stay mainly isolated to the mountains. Might get a few very light sprinkles, but not enough to make a huge difference out there for us. But again, because of those winds expected to pick up between 35-45 miles per hour by later today in the east slopes of the Cascades, there is this red flag warning. Now it's in effect all across eastern Washington. Around Spokane, I think our winds, we see those between 10 and 20 miles per hour by this afternoon, but it's right in those areas where the fires are burning that the winds are expected to be the strongest. Around Wenatchee, could see those gusts 35 miles per hour, a little bit calmer up into the Okanagan Valley, but still winds to 25 miles per hour, certainly not helping the cause. And unfortunately, with all these different storm systems moving through, it does look like we're going to see breezy conditions at least into the day tomorrow.
Thank you very much. Joining us on our KHU Live line right now from the Grand Coulee area, Sherry Thomas. Good morning, Sherry. We've been talking with so many people about the massive amount of smoke that these fires are causing. Again, Brewster, Pateros, Grand Coulee, Twisp, all the way over into the inland northwest. What are you seeing in the Grand Coulee area this morning?
Well, thank goodness, Shelley, the wind came in last night. I thought it was blowing it in, but thank goodness it blew it out. But it is settling back in this morning, and it's pretty smoky. I don't see the ash falling this morning that I saw yesterday, falling like snow. I woke up this morning, ash everywhere. I'm having to clean it up. It's so heavy. Right now, I'm hoping if it stays like this, I'll be happy, but I don't think so.
Yeah, unfortunately, and Blake is talking about those winds, unfortunately, picking back up throughout the course of the day. Now, Sherry, for people that maybe aren't familiar with this specific area, explain where you are in the Grand Coulee region compared to the Pateros-Brewster area.
I am right in the town of Grand Coulee. I'm overlooking the dam. I can see the hillsides all around me. The heavy smoke all around me. It's almost like mid-morning, early morning instead of mid-morning. It's getting smokier.
We saw earlier with Sean's live picture in the Brewster area, it looked like nightfall still, while up to the west, northwest, and Twisp, it looked more like daylight. In your years in the Grand Coulee region, have you ever seen the fires this bad?
Never. And we have had, of course, fires right here in town, and it's never been this bad, this smoky. The ash falling like it's falling is incredible. I don't believe all the ash. And being, 50 miles away, getting as much ash as we're getting.
All right, Sherry, thank you so much for joining us. Stay safe. And again, unfortunately, they're saying now between 40 and 50 buildings have been destroyed by this fire. The good news in all of this, if there is a silver lining, is thank heavens nobody has been injured at this time. Stay safe, Sherry. Once again, we do want to go back out live and join Sean Owsley. He's been covering this from the ground this morning, earlier in Brewster, now headed to Pateros. Good morning, Sean.
It's scary to look at the situation that we're standing in right now. We are right along the railroad tracks. As you can see, they continue to burn right now. A little further up the tracks, there's an entire burned out area that our photographer Tim is showing you. Sheriff Frank Rogers says it's going to be a long time before this stretch of rail is operational again. As we take you over more towards Highway 97 now, you can look. The fire just roared through this region. Look how wide the path of the fire is, and you can see the charred brush. This was a vegetation just hours ago, and that fire came through and roared through this area. Now look up on that hillside. That house is still standing off to the right here, and basically the fire burning all around it, but you can see they've done a good job keeping that house safe. We also do want to tell you this is just it's amazing that we haven't had any lives lost, and that is certainly a very, very bright spot in what is a very dark situation because of the aggressiveness of that fire. And then over across Highway 97, you see some of the vehicles stopping. We can tell you our other crew just discovered that a transformer and a power line is down. We actually contacted the sheriffs, and our producer Josh is actually talking to them, instructing them of what we discovered here on Highway 97. Very dangerous, live power down on the roadway, and you can see the charred out vegetation here. The latest numbers that we have, 18,000 acres in size for this fire, but we're being told it is much, much larger than that. They just don't have an idea of how much larger it is. We can also tell you we've confirmed 45 to 50 homes that were standing just hours ago now gone. People grew up in those homes. Those are simply no more because of this fire. It really changed over the last 12 hours, became very aggressive, very swift in nature, and a lot of the people that we talked to say the same thing to our crews here in this community this morning, that they've never seen anything like this before, and they've lived through a number of fires in this community, but they say the change in direction, the change in the intensity, and the danger of this fire was at a different level than they're used to here in Brewster and Pateros, where we're standing, and the outlying communities of Okanagan, homes lost there as well. So that gives you a portrait of what we're going to be facing with fire crews this morning. 0% containment, and it's also a major issue, that wildfire threatening Twisp and causing damage there. Our team coverage continues now with KHQ local news reporter Gabe Cohen. Gabe?
Well, thank you, Sean. As you mentioned, yeah, Twisp, definitely a lot of homes here also in jeopardy, and that fire has spread southward down toward where you guys are, but certainly here it's not that much better. A lot of homes have been at risk the last 24, 48 hours even, and we're told that 2 homes in this area have been destroyed. We're still waiting for confirmation from the information officers on all of this information, but people here have been evacuating, coming back. I've seen a few people drive back in this morning, and I should also note Highway 153 has been reopened up heading down to that area, and certainly people are going to be moving in and out of these homes more and more. But as you can see behind me, still a lot of smoke. People, crews out here fighting those fires, and people here, as you mentioned, Sean, have been evacuating. I spoke with a couple local people that were shocked by what they saw late yesterday.
One of the most frightening things for me is that it just happened so quickly. I mean, it was so fast.
It happened so quickly. I don't think it can be said any better. Even in the hours I've been here, we've seen the flames just build up, grow so quickly, and crews out here again trying to fight this today. But as Blake mentioned, conditions not ideal. It is cool this morning, but if wind picks up later this afternoon, it's going to be tough for them to fight this just huge fire. But certainly with the highway being opened, we're going to head south and see if we can speak with some of the folks that have been affected by this fire. Back to you, Sean.
Stand by. Well, good morning once again. This is Matt Rogers here live in Brewster along Highway 97. Now, I just arrived here a few minutes ago, but already I can tell you I've seen just in the past, I would say 10 or 15 minutes, a helicopter picking up water. In fact, Jeff, here he comes again, picking up water out of the Columbia River, which is literally right here in Brewster, and he's taking it up, and you can see right now through the smoke. Pretty amazing just being able to fly through some of this smoke. It's so thick. And as you follow this helicopter, you're going to notice, and when he gets to the hillside that you really can't see because the smoke is so thick, there are a couple of hot spots that they're putting out. And this is literally, I would say, no more than a mile from downtown Brewster. Now, if you look right through the wires there, the telephone wires, you can actually see the power wires, a little bit of flames there on the hillside, and that's the area that chopper's been making his drops. He's made probably 4 or 5 of them here just in the last 15 minutes, going pretty steady, and you literally lose him in the smoke. That's how thick the smoke is here. When you're down along the Columbia River itself, you literally cannot see across it at times. The smoke is so thick. You're driving alongside mountains that you can't see because the smoke is so thick. That's what the residents here in Brewster, up the road in Bridgeport, all the way to Grand Coulee, the smoke very noticeable, very thick. You heard the telephone interview that Shelley did just a little bit ago with the woman there in Grand Coulee, and that's my experience as I came out here this morning. Once daylight broke, you could really see how thick the smoke was. So the helicopter making drops on these hot spots literally just outside of Brewster. Of course, the main line of fire is further up the 97 towards Pateros, where Sean is and Gabe, but certainly plenty of action to be had here in Brewster as well as they continue to Sean to try and fight this fire. And there it comes back out of the smoke. You can now see the helicopter once again as he makes his way just a mile or so over to the river, to the Columbia River, to pick up the water and continue to make drops. It's an ongoing fight here to get those flames down. They do not want to see those flare back up and turn into a much bigger event than they already are. So that is the latest from here in downtown Brewster, where residents continue to stop by, Sean, talk with us, find out what we know. People dropping off here. I can even show you somebody dropping off some surgical face masks for our crew. Very nice of them. But a lot of people wearing these, and I can see why. It's extremely smoky, hard to breathe, and if you suffer from any kind of symptoms that make it difficult to breathe, it's only going to be worse in this smoke. So Sean, I'll send things back to you. We'll keep an eye on this situation here behind me with the helicopter making the drops and update folks as we get more. Back to you.
All right, thanks very much, Matt. Reporting live for us just down the road in Brewster. We're live in Pateros, and we're also live with the Okanagan County Sheriff, Frank Rogers, and nice enough to take a few minutes of his time. He's had zero sleep, as you can imagine. You've been in this community for a long time. Right. Talk about what you're seeing this morning. I know you guys are in the evaluation stage, trying to get a handle of how much damage was done, the acreage, what to do going forward. If you can, for everybody watching, obviously a lot of people from this community watching want to know the latest information.
Yeah, well, that's what we were just doing, trying to go back through Pateros, see what we could find in the daylight, because last night we couldn't tell anything. We just did a rough count in Pateros, and we're looking like 30, 35 structures are missing. Most of those are homes, trailers. We also know we lost several homes up above. We're checking Alta Lake right now. We just got a report we lost more homes over there. So, yeah, a lot of people lost a lot of stuff out here last night. So,
Sheriff Rogers, talk about the last 12 hours as you were keeping a very close eye on this fire, how it was acting and behaving, and then over the last 12 hours it just seemed to take off and take over, really. If you can, talk about that stretch of time, that critical last 12 hours.
Well, yeah, yesterday, I mean, we have teams all over. We have a crew over there in Twistman, Winthrop. We've been down here that whole day, and I don't know, it was like 3 or 4 in the afternoon, the fire started coming towards Pateros. So we started doing road notifications and house warnings and all that. Well, when we got to Pateros, as soon as it crested the hill, you know, all of us started coming to Pateros, and pretty much it was insane. It just raced down the hill. And I think it got to Pateros so quick. I mean, we were trying to tell people to get out, and there was a couple down here. I mean, the house was on fire. People were trying to get in their cars. We were trying to get them out. I had deputies trying to get animals loose. And it was just, I mean, you see it on TV, you don't always live. I mean, we have a lot of fires in this county, but nothing. I've never seen anything like this in a town.
Worst one you've ever seen?
For a town, yeah, because it got into the town, and I give my guys and all the units that helped. I mean, there's 700 people living here, and we evacuated the entire town.
Sheriff Rogers, I know you're very busy. We certainly appreciate you taking a few minutes to explain the situation as it currently stands here, and just best of luck to you and all your crews going forward. It's going to be a long day. I know you didn't get any sleep. We appreciate your time, and best of luck to the community.
Okay, thank you, and kudos to all these fire guys.
Yeah, the fire guys absolutely just tirelessly working to try and get some containment. Thank you, Sheriff. 0% containment right now. As you heard him mention, they have visibly seen at least 35 homes burning. We're in Pateros. Matt Rogers in Brewster, Gabe Cohen in Twisp. Complete major team coverage. Obviously, a story like this comes along every several years. We wish it would never come along. For all of you that are in harm's way or that have lost your home, we're going to stay here in this community to relay critical information for you that you need to go forward after such devastation from this fast-moving wildfire. As you can see, the railroad here, still the rail line, still burning after that fire whipped through here. What's left of it, if you will. This rail line is going to be shut down for a long, long time, and as we go up into the sky, you can see just how much smoke here as we're standing right along the river. Even the sun is barely visible beneath the smoke. We're taking a break. You're watching Breaking News on KHQ Local News. We're back in a minute. And once again, I'm Sean Owsley, live in Pateros, Washington, following breaking news. The communities of Brewster, Pateros, Twisp, you name the communities in this area, they've been hard hit by an aggressive, fast-moving wildfire that has at least burned through 35 to 50 homes so far, not to count other structures. Many of you, if you're watching this morning and you live in this area, you know what the night was like. Very little sleep. You had to evacuate homes that you lived in for years. Not the situation you want to be dealing with. What we can tell you is I just talked to Sheriff Rogers. He says they're going to be evaluating things going forward. We'll get that information out to you. The rail line right beside me continues to burn here. And the weather, we're getting a little bit of breeze here and there, but nothing too bad. We want to keep those winds very calm if we can. Let's go and check in with Blake Jensen in the KHQ studios right now. And Blake, you can see how much smoke is hovering in the air here right along the river.
It's been incredible just watching your live shots this morning, Sean. And, you know, from everybody that we're hearing from out across the Columbia Basin and into the Okanagan Okanagan Valley. They're up into the eastern slopes of the Cascades, where that smoke just settled back in overnight last night, and that's because the winds calmed down a little bit, allowing that smoke to settle in. By this afternoon, the winds will again be picking up, which is not good news, obviously, under the current situations. But real quickly, before we get into this fire weather forecast, I want to take a look at the day planner for Spokane. Have that yellow bar in place simply because we're going to be dealing with this smoky haze throughout the day today as well. You see it out there right now, 80 degrees by noon today, 87 degrees the high temperature. But even in Spokane, you see our winds kicking up a little bit by this afternoon. Air quality has become a major factor and a major issue this morning. Obviously, you can imagine breathing in the smoke that Sean, Matt, Gabe have all been showing us throughout this morning. There is unhealthy category there near Wenatchee, moderate for Omak and Moses Lake, unhealthy for Colville. And once I show you this air quality alert that's in effect, you can see why it's those areas that are seeing the majority of this. Meanwhile, Omak, Moses Lake, yes, you're seeing some smoke. Yes, I've heard there's some ash falling in those areas, but the primary path of this smoke is blowing west to northeast up into northeastern portions of Washington. So Colville unhealthy, Wenatchee unhealthy. Meanwhile, sandwiched between that, Moses Lake and Omak there in the moderate levels. So that smoke will continue to traverse across eastern Washington throughout the day today. The terrible news, even though winds are relatively calm right now, is that by this afternoon, another front is going to move across the Cascades and whip these winds up. These are projected sustained wind speeds for the Meadow Valley, the Okanagan Valley, down into the Wenatchee Valley. Look at this, 20 to 25 miles per hour. That's just by noon. As we head into the evening, we could see those winds around Eniat, that Mills Canyon fire, 30 miles per hour sustained winds, gusts potentially even stronger than that near Omak, southern portions of the Okanagan Valley, where we are seeing areas like Brewster and Pateros, where Sean and Matt and Gabe have been reporting from. Winds to 20-25 miles per hour. Same kind of thing overnight. Winds calm down. Expect smoke to settle back in and then picking up again tomorrow afternoon between 20 and 25 miles per hour. So red flag warning in effect basically anywhere east of the Cascades throughout the day today. Also a wind advisory because even stronger winds expected today around Ellensburg with gusts to 45 miles per hour, and still going to stay breezy in some spots even into tomorrow. So there you go. There's the high temperatures for the day today with this smoky haze present throughout the afternoon. Temperatures into the 80s for the most part, mid-90s for the Tri-Cities, low 90s for the LC Valley. A chance for some mountain showers tomorrow, although it doesn't look like a lot of rain, then cooling down still into the next week.
I'm Sean Owsley live in Pateros this morning. Our team coverage will continue all day long into the evening. You can see the damage done. This was part of the rail line here as it continues to burn. A lot of smoke in the sky. If you were evacuated in Pateros, you go to Chelan High School and Brewster to Brewster High School. Much more ahead at 7:26.